Odds are, if you're part of the Versus community, you've at least heard of the up-and-coming Versus show called Smash Bracket run by Inkthinks. I promoted it in a community tab a few months ago apparently? What the fuck, that doesn't feel right, where's the year gone? Anyway, I said I was going to make a video on that series, but it kind of ended up falling into the pile of stuff I'd lost motivation to do. Then I was told that apparently Ink said on Discord that he was excited for the video, and he even said on a livestream that he checks out the Death Battle reviews that Nem and I do to see what does and doesn't work, and uses that to influence his own projects.
What's his name? Nemesis Bloodtyke?
I felt kinda bad about dropping it since Ink seems like a nice guy, but truth be told, the Smash Bracket review was going to be like 3 minutes long, where I gave each episode about as much time as a Wii Party minigame, because there really wasn't much for me to say other than yeah, it was good, and with how frequently episodes were dropping, it would undoubtedly be outdated very quickly. Then he dropped the premiere for his new series, Super Smackdown. Basically it's Smash Bracket, but not a tournament bracket, and he isn't limited to the Smash roster. And what a time to be a Bill Cipher fan in the Versus community, because he's one of the combatants here as well as in the new multiverse match. He's one of, if not my absolute favourite fictional villain of all time. And I always look forward to seeing how creative people who aren't Season 1 Animation Rewind can get with his reality warping. Can't say I'm as invested in Sephiroth with my grand total of maybe 3 minutes of playtime in Final Fantasy VII from a decade ago, but he seems cool enough. Bill alone was enough incentive to get me to check this episode out and review it, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Analysis wise, I can't see myself commenting much on it for this or any other time I talk about the series in the future. Versus analysis segments with one host typically don't do it for me, and the only times I'll ever go back to an analysis segment that isn't a Death Battle episode is for Versus shows that don't have animations, where the analysis portions are kind of the whole point. That's partly why Fictional Fisticuffs and Galaxy Grudge Match are my favourite non-Death Battle Versus shows at the moment. I know some people are going to want me to go into Ink's unique rule set and explain why it's cringe or whatever, but no. Can't stress this enough, I am not a Versus debater. I have no stakes in how strong someone thinks a fictional character is. If someone doesn't think Sonic T. Hedgehog can blow up a trillion universes with a sneeze, I am not losing a wink of sleep. If he breaks his own rules, then that's one thing, but again, I do not care. He covers the characters well enough, but this kind of analysis isn't something that'll ever have me going back or being super invested in future ones unless he uses a character I'm invested in. The animation is always what's most important to me in Versus shows that have them, and this episode has a pretty good one. It starts with Bill using an illusion of Cloud to mess with Sephiroth, who instantly sees through it and kills it without hesitation, already effectively establishing the exact kind of dynamic these two are going to have. Bill's summoning is visually neat, and I like how expressively he's animated for the entire animation. Props to Levitation, who also voiced Bill, for putting so much personality into all of his movements and lines. Even down to the littlest of things like Bill appearing behind Sephiroth as he's walking backwards in a battle stance, still looking forward at him from off screen. These two have a dynamic fairly similar to Cable and Booster Gold on Death Battle, and it's a lot of fun. The first joke of the fight's a neat callback to a Gravity Falls episode, on top of being funny on its own merits. I also like how Bill uses his reality warping to change Seth's voice from Japanese to English with the language options being visible on screen. That feels like such a Bill thing to do, and I like it. He also calls him Chicken Wing for some reason. I guess he is the one-winged angel, so that kinda makes sense. And for Bill to call him a name like that isn't completely out of character, I guess. It's not funny per se, but it is quirky in a way that feels perfectly Bill, so as a one-time thing, sure. The fight starts, and damn, this animation is clean. The combat's super fluid and there's very minimal jank. They're not throwing out any crazy special attacks rapid fire yet, but Seth is still sizing him up, and Bill isn't even trying yet, so that's fine. Then they reference Invincible, which I'm sure will age like a fine wine, while also throwing in the chicken wing line again. Wasn't that funny the first time, but okay then. I like Bill's next line about Seth ignoring his hospitality though, I find that funny. Now we get Angry Bill, which Sephiroth promptly cuts in half, allowing Bill to show off both his regeneration and self-cloning at once, whilst bringing up the chicken wing line again. I guess comedy comes in threes, but you can stop now. Bill tosses Seth around like a pinball, shoots him with some lasers, and calls him Chicken Wing again. Yeah, sure, why not? Now the animation is about to really start picking up though. Bill cuts a hole in the fabric of reality with an actual pair of scissors, which is a great visual gag. And I like that they added the Mario 64 level select when he jumps through the Rick and Morty portal. I don't know if this line is a reference to Megamind or if the Invincible bit from earlier just has me second guessing everything now. I love this brief shot of Sephiroth walking through the dark room with his reflection in the ground as he walks through some invisible water, all with Bill's rendition of We'll Meet Again playing quietly in the background. It sets the atmosphere so well and gives a good sense of dread for whatever eldritch horror Bill has prepared at the other side of this white doorway. But no, he uses it as a further means to take the piss out of Sephiroth, and I love it. The Final Fantasy convention is my favourite bit of the fight. The hand-drawn Sephiroth face, the army of Bills in wigs, one of the Bills shooting another one in Sonic's hat with Fox's gun, which I am vaguely aware of being an inside joke, all coupled with the unironic banger of a track by the incredibly talented Sky the GM. Up until now the track was good, but now that Sky gets to go ham with a rocking version of the Gravity Falls theme, what more could I want from it? Sephiroth uses one of his spells to escape, he starts talking shit, and I'm just now realising we've thankfully gone almost a full minute without the words chicken wing being uttered. I was worried it was going to become repetitive as something like
Size, huh? Thanks for the tip.
Oh my fucking god. And he said it again, why? Alright, that line aside, the actual sequence of Bill increasing in size is pretty great. I love the change in the angle of the sprite giving us his 3D look instead of just angling the flat sprite in a weird looking way. Then the bit with his giant arms grappling onto the mountains to give us a sense of scale as he begins to grow so large so fast that he begins breaking the sound barrier. I also like the bit of planet-sized Bill looming over the Earth. But I can't help but feel like his voice maybe could have used a different filter to get across how seriously he's taking the fight now, since he's done similar things when turning giant in Gravity Falls. Then the death comes around. We get this nice looking hand-drawn Sephiroth with a serious expression this time, and he tells Bill that his time has come to burn. I forgot about it until reading the comments, but that's actually a reference to Bill's last lines before his canon death. That's a really clever callback that isn't completely shoved in the audience's face like some other references in the battle. Props to Levitation again, because they apparently wrote that one in. Continuing on the topic of giving props to the animator, this shot of Bill turning around in a 3D plane is the peak of this animation's already very impressive sprite rigging. This looks like it was a pain to get right, but it was done so well. Bill gets swallowed by the supernova, Sephiroth gets a line which I'm sure is a reference to something, and he switches back from English to Japanese after Bill's death, another nice attention to detail. Man, that animation was really fun. The contrast between Bill shitposting all fight while Sephiroth wants nothing more than to be done with him made for some great exchanges. They didn't use absolutely everything in their arsenals, but they were still fairly creative with what they did use. The death felt cinematic and grand in scale, the animation was incredibly well done with some good voice acting to boot. I really enjoyed it overall. It's only got a few big issues holding it down. The sound design prior to the best scene was kinda weak and it made it feel like some attacks never even hit, and the fight sense of humour was very hit or miss. The hits definitely hit and got a fair amount of laughs from me, but the jokes that missed more than took me out of it a few times. Like, I can accept references to Invincible and Time Ha, but the chicken wing bit got old the second time around, and then it just kept going. If you're gonna have Bill call Sephiroth a quirky nickname, maybe have it be a different one each time and not the same quirky random one that loses any semblance of charm and... is shock value the right word? Probably not, but my point is that it loses what little punch it had with each repeat. Still, good episode overall. I'd give it a 7 or maybe 8 out of 10. Gotta give it more time to set and for other episodes to come out so I have a frame of reference before I can say for sure though. This was a really solid start to the show. Actually, probably one of the best series premieres I've ever seen for a Versus show, only beaten out by Rewind Rumble's Goku Black vs Dark Sonic in terms of animation quality. Though rewatching that directly after, it isn't leaps and bounds ahead like I remember it being. Most Rewind Rumbles have probably aged way worse than I remember, but I do not have it in me to go and check. Back on track, this stands alongside fictional fisticuffs Mickey vs Felix and the aforementioned Goku Black vs Dark Sonic as one of my top 3 favourite Versus series premieres. Turns out there aren't a whole lot of great ones going around. Even my favourite Versus shows like Death Battle and Galaxy Grudge Match had first episodes carried almost exclusively by early series charm. If you haven't seen the episode, give it a watch. This is a series with a lot of potential and I hope to see it take off in the near future. And if you're in a position where you're able to, maybe consider supporting the series on Kickstarter. They have passed their goal already, but as I'm recording this there's still some time left for donations to come in and help fund future episodes. I'm excited to see what's in store for this show, but I swear to god if either Iroh or Oogway die next episode I'm dropping the show. Actually no, Oogway's a senile old man who thinks a peach, a literal fruit, could defeat the most feared criminal in the Valley of Peace. Okay yeah no, Iroh dub, let's fucking go.